Hello and welcome to another episode of Untold Chapters. On today's episode, our guest is Charlotte Davison, author of Catch Me When I Fall. Based in a sleepy Somerset village, Charlotte Davison lives with her husband and are both very fortunate to own a lovely home in Brittany, France, where they like to spend holidays with friends and family. Loving the connection with the characters in the book and believes they are an illustration of real life in so many ways, Charlotte hopes this novel will appeal to many readers. So thank you for agreeing to come on to Untold Chapters with us. Would you like to introduce yourself for our viewers?
Yes, certainly. I'm Charlotte Davison, and I am the author of Catch Me When I Fall, which is the very first novel that I wrote. And I was quite pleased with how the story went. I live in Somerset in England, in a little sleepy village. I'm married with two sons. And I also own, or both myself and my husband own a holiday home in France, which is where I got a lot of my inspiration for the book from.
Was it just the setting of France that inspired the book, or was it something specific, or?
Well, inspiration for Catch Me When I Fall was generated really by the captivating French way of life. I love their culture, the people's warm hospitality, and I felt within me there was a story waiting to unfold, and I was eager to bring that story to life. I've been over to France since 2000, since we own the property there. Actually, the property is in Brittany, which is a lovely part of France. And it means that we can get to the house more often than if the house was possibly in the south of France, by taking the car, the dog, etc. And it is our second home. So yes, that's where really much of my inspiration came from. And I just love the way of life over there. It's relaxing, it's laid back. Yeah, there's times when, the weather's not brilliant, but then again, that can be anywhere. So I mean, really, France is my second home. So yes, that's where inspiration came from.
And also what's probably brilliant about it is that because it is inspired by France, it's sort of, if you ever miss France, you can always just start reading your book and be transported back there again.
Oh yeah, most definitely. In fact, a lot of my characters in the book, I wanted to make them become more real life.
Mm.
Um, and each one, I think, depicts that. I've been told by readers of the book, they can see me in the book. A couple of my readers have said to me, that's exactly how we read you. And I think they're right. A lot of me is in that book, in the way I wrote it.
I honestly do really think that's quite a compliment, especially when it comes to writing a book, is if you've left I guess your fingerprint, your style, as it were, in the book. I think that's brilliant because it's like it's something that's unique, really, because everyone's got their own sense of style, sense of life, I guess. So, yeah, absolutely fantastic. Also, when you were creating the characters, did you ever sit down and watch people pass by and then you're going to be the main like background character number one, and you're going to be number two, like as they're
Yeah.
passing by?
Well, I've always been told as a child, and I mean, I'm in my latter years now. I mean, I'm retired, and obviously, this was something I always wanted to do. It was a dream of mine to write my first novel, and in fact, I'm on my second one now, actually. But having said that, I how can I put it? I was always told, as when I was a child, I had a very vivid imagination. So that vividness of my imagination came out in the book quite well, because I was always good at composing things and sort of depicting certain characters at what their role in the story was going to be. They had their own purpose in the book. I think if you read the story, you will understand what I mean. Every character is complete in my book. There was never any sort of turned ends in the book. They were complete.
Nothing unnecessary.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are the main themes explored in the book?
The main themes, I believe, is how the Johnson family moved to France and how they acclimatized to the culture and lifestyle. Definitely friendships was very important and part of the story for the family. There's quite a bit of drama in the book, together with heartbreak. Certainly romance, a lot of unexpected challenges, and if you read it, you will find it is quite an emotional story. So those are my themes running through the book.
So definitely very relatable with just life in general, pretty much just
Yeah,
experiencing like challenges as they go and
yeah.
just, you know, figuring our way
Everything,
through.
everything which we face in life ourselves, basically. So in a way, although the book is fictional, it's very true to life in so many ways.
Definitely relatable for probably a lot of audience members, and yeah, and also romance never hurts. It's
No,
probably one of my favorite genres.
it's nice to put a little bit of romance in it because it levels out the heartbreak a little bit, you know. And
Just like a little bit of you know, a spicy flair on the side. It's like,
yeah, there was a little bit of that as well.
brilliant.
We all like that. It's not
Oh,
really 50
absolutely.
Shades, I'll tell you.
Like sometimes it's just, I don't know, it gives you something to enjoy, like sometimes in the background as you're like journeying through the story, because you know, it's just more relatable. You never know when a romance is going to happen, you know, when you're going to
No,
fall in love, get your heart broken. Unfortunately, it's something that we all go through, and it's part of life's great mystery.
absolutely. And I think that's what the book actually tells in a lot of ways. It is a holiday read. It is a book for the female population, if you like. It's not a book. My husband actually started to read it. In fact, having said that, he likes a lot of the masculine books, like, you know, your Stephen King's, that sort of thing. But he started reading it. We were in France and he started reading it. And he said, "You've got a good book here." He said, because he said it's the sort of book that I can't put down. I want to know what the next chapter says. And that
Oh,
was although I know that was my husband saying that, and he's obviously going to be on my side. But having said that, he was, you know, he said, "I like the book." He said, "I enjoyed it." But it was meant really for the female population, and a book you can pack in your suitcase and take on holiday and sit under the umbrellas by the pool and read.
classic case of hook, line, and sinker.
But I did ask him to be critical, and that was my main aim when I gave him the book to read.
Mm,
I didn't want him to be my husband. I wanted him to
that is
be a
fair.
reader, you know, and I think he was truthful about that. I think he because being the first book, I mean, I didn't know which way to go with it. I didn't even know if it would even get to the publishing stage, and I just, you know, and I just wanted him to read through it
Mm.
before I even submitted the draft, even really. Um, that he think it was good enough to submit. And a friend of mine also read the book before submission, and she too thought it was well worth reading. So that's where I got my confidence from. Because again, although you got inspiration for the book, you need a lot of confidence to actually work your way through it. And at times, I mean, I've never ever sat down at my computer I mean, I love doing it. It's something I've loved doing. But I
Mm.
sit down, I give myself a couple of hours a day, 3 sometimes, and it's not a painstaking task. It's something I like doing, and that's really why I've started on my second book and actually nearly completed it as well. So, you know, that might be another one for the frame later on.
Yeah, because with
Yeah.
this one, as soon as honestly, I love the front cover of this because it's one of those where it reminds me of, you know, a typical romance type of genre that I love reading, like oh, well, some books off the top of my head that I can name, like Icebreaker, Wildfire, Not in Love, things like that, where it just goes straight into that genre, which is brilliant because it just immediately gets your attention.
It's got its happy times in the book. It's given you a sense of love in the book. It's given you a sense of togetherness,
Mm.
and how the family stayed together through so much heartbreak, because there is a lot of heartbreak.
Mm.
And, you know, it's how the dream of the family, the dream was to go to France, make a new life for themselves. But obviously things changed, things didn't go to plan. Heartbreak happened. I won't go into the story too much, but there was a lot of heartbreak. And the dream of moving to France got to the stage where possibly would they return back to England? Yes or no? And no, they never. They wanted to stay and fulfill the dream.
Speaking of the family moving over to France, what are the challenges that the family faced, in the move to France?
Well, mostly the challenges resonate with readers of romantic fiction. I think the book was challenges they would probably face. They had to make sure that they gave everything they had into moving to France. They couldn't sort of think, well, we give it a couple of months and we go back home again. They had to make sure they had social connections there. Language came into it because obviously they were new to the language. And also, I believe they had to sort of become part of the French way of life. And I think they knew they were going to be doing that and become involved with everyday French life, then I think the move for them would be successful.
But when it comes to moving somewhere, just the fact that someone does research, like you say, about getting social connections, just, becoming just one of the people there pretty much, rather than just sort of tossing yourself into the deep end and, hoping to swim.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, leaving family and friends behind is the most commonest challenge, I think.
Yeah.
Deal with that quite hard. I mean, I know myself, we'd contemplating going to France and moving there permanently. But there was a stage in my life and in my husband's life where, you know, I was still at work. I would have had to given up my job, and we were then sort of middle aged, and I had grandchildren, young grandchildren, and I didn't really want to leave them for long lengths of time. I know they could come over and see us, but that was not the same as me popping in, babysitting, that sort of thing. And that was never really an option for us. Now we're retired and we've got the time. It very well could be. The granddaughters are now grown up. They don't need us like before,
Yeah.
And if we contemplated moving to France permanently, then I think we'd have to consider being able to live with the people, not work with the people, live with the people over there. And we've made many friends. So for us to go over there and live, I think would become quite easy. We have a family in the village. They come from Scotland. They've lived there for the last 10 years and we've become extremely friendly with them. So we have friends. If we went to France and lived, I think socially we'd be okay. Language-wise, I think I can understand the French language. I can speak some of the French language. I'm not fluent. My husband's not fluent, but we get by.
I guess that's the main thing. As long as you
Yeah.
can basically go out to the shop, get what you need to do, well, get what you need to get, and then come home and do what else needs to be done. I think that's the
Have a
main
glass of
thing. Yeah, because that's the thing. As
That
long
is the
as
best way to
Yeah,
deal with.
when I went myself, it was the things that I was concerned most about is, we're going to be there for a number of days. Will we be able to get what we need, go where we need to get to, will we be able to get by? Because I can understand French. It's just I think I prefer it to be written down so I can like visually see the words. At the same time, it's like when you're there, when you're surrounded by the language and surrounded by just their way of life, you just adapt pretty much.
You have
Yeah.
to adapt. And I think, I think the main thing is that you've gone to another country, their country.
Yeah.
And therefore, I mean, a lot of people think, well, I'm here, I'm English, I'm going to do it as I do in England. If
Hmm.
you've got that attitude, then you're not going to get very far. I think we've realized that where we are in the little village and the little hamlet that we live in over there, where the house is, the people recognize us for who we are, not what we are. And that is lovely because they wave out to us. They know we're coming over. The grass is cut before we arrive.
Aw.
They're so friendly to us. We could live anywhere, here or there, but
Oh,
obviously you know, we've got our main roots are here. But, you
Yeah.
know, when we visit France, and my son's there at the moment with his family on school holidays, he loves it. He said, I go to France, Mum. I put my feet up. I'm here for the fortnight because, of course, he's working. He said, and I let the world go by. He said,
Mm.
I haven't got to worry about how I've got to dress for evening meals tonight. You know, I can go casual day in, day out. He said, that's what we love about going to France. It's casual, it's nice, it's inviting.
Your own little
Our own little
bubble
world.
away from the rest of the world.
Yeah, yeah.
God, that sounds absolutely brilliant. Makes me want to go back.
I'll give you the dress if you like.
Thank you. When you were, when you were writing Catch Me When I Fall, what was your like writing process? Because I know that you said about, just sitting down for like 2 or 3 hours at a time. Just a more linear process, or was it like you wrote like sections or?
Well, to begin with, I did little research on it because I had quite a good understanding of France. And I know some people, when they're writing books and they start to write books, they do a lot of research into it. I didn't do that so much because I understood France and family life. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to involve my characters to mirror real life experiences, really. And
Hmm.
then I did a first draft, which molded every aspect of the characters in the plot. I then started to edit my text throughout, making sense of the storyline. I finally then drafted my draft, submitted it to Austin Macaulay's. But I did, however, receive invaluable assistance and guidance from Austin Macauley on how to present the story to readers, which was a great help to me because never having done a storyline before, I wanted to know that if I submitted the draft, it would become, it would be something that they would be willing to publish.
Hmm. Oh, yeah, because it's at the end of the day, you're telling a story and you want to make sure that story is going to be enjoyable, interesting, engaging, etc., etc.
Gave myself specific times, I would obviously, I have a life other than writing, obviously. There was days I didn't want to do anything, I didn't want to work on the book. And I think that's a good idea because I think if you've got things in your mind that you want to put down on paper, as soon as you think of those things, I did do that. I came up into the computer, I wrote down my notes, and I took all my references from my notes. Other times I would come up in the mornings and I would spend probably all morning on the book, trying to get the characters in their right roles and trying to make sure the storyline flowed. And other days, like I said, I'd go a couple of days and I wouldn't do anything on the book. But I think that's a good way to approach it, really. If
Mm.
you're on it sort of 24/7, I think, your mind's not going to be in the story. It's going to go, it's going to go bizarre. So I think really take your time with the book and give yourself specific days, specific times to sit and write.
Yeah, otherwise you'll burn yourself out, to be honest.
Like anything really, isn't it? I like it in
Yeah.
sports, anything really, yeah.
And also less is more. Just taking a step back, it sort of just sometimes because a lot of the times you find something when you don't need to find it or you don't want to find it. You just so happen upon it.
Yeah,
God knows I've found enough things where I was like, why couldn't I have found this like 5 years ago?
I know. But this is it. I think you need in your own mind to know which route you're going to take and how you're going to take that route, and just take it slowly. Don't rush anything because when you start rushing, that's when mistakes happen. It took me over 2 years to get this book together. From beginning to end, from when it was published, and that seems a long time, but no, it's not a long time. There's a lot of work goes into the storytelling, the how you're going to present it. I mean, obviously, I was lucky enough with Austin Macaulay's. They designed the cover for me, which was lovely. I didn't have to worry about that, but it was something I had to be proud of. It's something my family are extremely proud of, the fact that I've wrote a book. I mean, my two sons, it's beyond measure to think that their mother had published a book, But then again, it was a dream of mine that actually came into reality, basically.
So when the book was, like the front cover of your book was designed, was it, as
Yeah.
soon as you saw that, did you just say, yes, that is exactly my vision?
You see, Catch Me When I Fall is basically, the title came from how a feather would descend from the sky, basically. Read the story, you know exactly where I'm coming from. And she's got her hands wide apart out in the snow, in the snowy winter months in France. And she's happy. She looks happy. All her heartbreak is healing, saying to herself and saying to the person that the heartbreak came from, she is thinking to herself, I'm going to catch you. You're with me forever, sort of thing.
It's like the difference with adult books to like children's books, for example, is that with children's books, you have more illustrations throughout, but with adult books, you have the artwork on the cover, and that pretty much already sort of sets a scene, as it were, for the reader. And so it's sort of, book covers are very, very interesting, and something that I've always loved, because it's like was a picture can tell 1,000 stories or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
I feel this book. I mean, I know that when I look at books, if I look at a front cover and it doesn't look really attractive or anything, you tend to put it to one side, don't you? And think, oh, I always read the introductions. But having said that, if it's brightly coloured, it attracts the eye, which this book is. It's got plenty of colour in it. So I believe that, and I'm hoping that, that's what does attract. I mean, it's a simple cover.
simplistic, but more than enough, because it's
Yeah,
one of my
exactly.
one of my favorite types of covers, because it's like you don't want to have it like, you don't want to have too much, but you want to
No,
have enough, and I think it's like perfectly in the middle.
yeah, you want it to sort of start to tell the story, but that's as far as it goes. Basically, you can see that it, again, as I'm saying, I've said it before, the color denotes the story. And the lady on the front, the girl on the front, is happy, and happiness is part of the book. It's how the book hopefully ends, and I think, in the end, like you say, the cover is everything, and that makes the book. The story's inside, the cover's on the front, and if you're looking for a story, your eyes focus straight at that cover. And I believe that, that's what does sell a book.
Oh, absolutely. When you were like as you were going along, were there any specific like challenges, like any like writer's block that you may have encountered whilst as you were going through, or
The only thing really I would probably have wondered about was the fact that, was the book being presented correctly? Was it worded correctly? I was hoping that, I know you, and points of view, I didn't know. I was very unaware of that, and I was put right by saying it's always best when you're writing a book to write in the third person. And that was really good advice to me, because I then had to go through my text again, and I had to rework that text to make it sound like I was telling the story of the the third person, the main person in the book, and that was invaluable to me. So I would say that was one of the main challenges I faced, um, and hoping that the story would resonate with readers of romantic and, well, romantic fiction, basically. I mean, it is a romantic novel. It's not a romantic comedy novel. It's a romantic drama, really.
Hmm. Yeah, so with maybe like families moving, or going through their own personal like experiences, themselves. How do you feel the book will resonate with, families going through maybe similar transitions?
Well, if they're thinking of moving away from their home and into a different countries, or we'll say France in this instance, there's mastering a new language. That's always a number one. They have to establish all their social connections. I mean, they have to know where all the local shops and the local buildings, like all the churches and all the infrastructure is. Knowing that they got to drive on the other side of the road is a big challenge at times. If they've got children, navigating the school systems, because that is quite different to England. I mean, the children in the part of Brittany where we are, the children go to school on a Saturday. They have a Wednesday afternoon off, and they go to school on Saturday mornings. So that's another unfamiliar obstacle they would have to overcome. And then, missing friends, that's another one. I mean, they have to think deeply that if they're moving far, far away, they're not going to see family and friends quite as often as they did when they were living in the UK, for example. And those are the sort of things they have to think of. But in the end of the day, it has to be something that not only one person in that family wants to do. It has to be a decision for all the family. And, hopefully, in most cases, it works well, and, it's wonderful to think people are taking the opportunity to make a better life for themselves.
For, anyone maybe thinking about writing their own book, not quite sure like where to go or as such, do you have any advice for them?
Just judging by my own experience, I would always say, set yourself specific times of the day to write. Always don't think, well, I'm going to write every day, all day. Don't do that. I think well, my experience shows me that I've found it specific times of the day, even, hours of the day, is much more beneficial. And and giving yourself space in between writing. Research if necessary and explore your ideas. Get to know your characters, put them into real life situations. You must remember that a book is a creation of your own dreams, which you turn into reality. And nobody knows their true expectations, so give it your very best and you will be surprised at what you're going to achieve. And with great positivity and determination, when there is something in life that you want to achieve, then do it. Challenge yourself and don't look back.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Untold Chapters. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. To order your copy of Catch Me When I Fall, you can find the links in the description down below.